Hello and welcome to another episode of Brand Retro. Today on the podcast we have Lauren Litt, who is the owner of Lil Shameless Plug. And as we were talking about kind of right before I hit record here, is that along with Lil Shameless Plug, you have a plethora of things going on in your life. So kick us off, tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll jump into it.
Hey, yeah, thank you, Mike. Yes, I am the owner of Lil Shameless Plug, which is a social media management company, and I also teach social media to coaches and entrepreneurs through that company. But it started off, as I was telling you, because I needed a way to make money in between acting jobs. And so this little side business, I now have two full-time employees and three part-time employees, and have served, I've worked on film festivals and brick and mortars and worked with coaches and all sorts of different things. And I did not think that 10 years later I would still be in Lil Shameless Plug, but here I am. And I also, as I said, I act. You can look me up on IMDb if anybody's really excited. And if you love really B-level horror films, I was a scream queen, y'all. So you can go and find me doing that.
I used to watch a ton of those as a kid, and just they were just awesome because you knew it was going to happen and you knew how things played out, but obviously every scenario is a little different and the same level of entertainment. But yeah, I used to love watching.
I will tell you, they are
films.
so fun to make as an actor. They are just thrilling, and I've died a lot of different ways. My favorite of which was drowning in a hot tub. So
Fun.
yeah.
So how many? Just not to get off on a side tangent here, but how many have you made?
Gosh, I've probably been in about 20 films between short films
Wow.
and features. The ones you can probably find, there's probably 3 or 4 that you could actually feature length films you could find that I've been in. So
Very cool. Well, it's fun. So that said, how do you merge your passions to find where you are today?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you obviously have interests in other areas, and you've got some different motivations for each one. But I think what's unique about at least what I saw of your work and whatnot is that you've found a way to take those things, mesh them into each other, and find a unique approach to how you put your message out there and how you promote social media and teach it and all those good things. So broad question, but how do you pull all that together?
Well, for me, it's actually all under the same banner. The reason why I act is I truly believe that through telling stories, through telling our humanity, we're able to bring people closer together. We're able to unite ourselves under that same banner of, look, we're all humans, and here's how some people experience the world, and here's how other people experience the world. And by understanding, we're able to come together. And social media is just more of that same storytelling. They are these free platforms that, as a business owner, if you can tell your story, you can help so many people. You can solve a problem. You can bring awareness to something. Like, it's the same root. So while one of them is very much more corporate and regular, I would love if my acting career was as regular as my social media clients. They're both coming from the same place.
Yeah, and I think bigger businesses, corporate, like you would say, I think they see it as different. I think sometimes they maybe think it should be a different elevated version or whatnot. But I think, personally, I think there's a lot to be learned below that surface in more the scrappier methods of social media. So like being an actor, I'm sure you've explored many different ways on how to promote yourself, get your name out there, how to be unique, how to stand out amongst the crowd and those kinds of things, and being able to translate that into your social media platforms, whether it be as an influencer or trying to find that algorithm buster, so to speak. I mean, talk to me a little bit about that, because what I think's great about that is it's the scrappy guerrilla marketing tactic, but it then, to me, does apply to those bigger businesses. And I think bigger businesses can learn from some of that.
Yeah, well, I think that when people come to me, one, I still use an acting exercise with all of my new clients, right? Because I think that when we are talking about you online, we're talking about the character that you are putting together. So it's like, how can we understand who it is you want to reach? The acting exercise that I used and bastardized for my own social media purposes is you fill out an employment form, right? Like, well, what's the history, and what's your age, and did you go to college? Or so we're thinking about your ideal client in those ways. Also including things like, well, what does your ideal client watch on TV? Because if we know they love Schitt's Creek, for example, boy, can we use a meme, right? In a reel or something. Like that really brings people in when you're hitting these cultural touchstones that we all talk about.
Right.
The other thing that I think it's important to understand from my acting side of things when I'm thinking of marketing, one of my first acting coaches taught me this, right? And that it is better to be a meaningful specific than a wandering generality. The more specific we can get about you and your business, the more clear you are on exactly who you want to help, the more you tap into that weird universality of humanity. When people come to me and they're like, well, I just want to help all moms. You're like, that's great. But if you say you want to help all moms, you're not going to help any moms because you're too general for anyone to understand what it is you want to help them with and how you're going to move forward. But if you say, I want to help moms who are just had their second child and are trying to figure out how to juggle, having two kids, well, now you've really locked in, and you're also going to have first-time moms listen to you and moms who've had 3 or 4 kids listen to you. Because there's this weird thing about the more specific we get, people just hear the truth in it, and so they can trust you more.
Yeah, I think there's an authenticity piece, 100%, that is, the more transparent you are, the more you're able to, inject that into your messaging and have it come through naturally and all those different things. I think it subliminally tells your audience a lot of things about you, which I think is huge because it's easy to live up to at that point. It's easy to come across as very one-to-one and dialed in. It's just very easy for the client or the potential customer to know what you're all about and who they're talking to.
And it makes your conversion rates higher when you're actually in those sales calls. Because if you're actually talking to the people who are already saying yes to you and who you are and who you help, once they're on the call with you, they're most likely wanting to work with you. You're not wasting anybody's time.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think I'm going to use my own words here, but how you describe that character exploration, I think it's huge, and it's super relevant to the process of finding out who you are as a brand. And a lot of people struggle with that because a lot of us have that monkey see, monkey do type approach where if I'm going into industry X, Y, and Z, I'm just going to look at what my neighbors are doing. I'm going to try to just do what they do, and just the goal would be to blend in and try to look like I'm at their level. And that's one of the discussions I have with clients and kind of other marketers all the time, is that why does anybody want to seek to blend in? The whole idea is to stand out. Not that you can't use that as a reference point or a jumping off point, but the idea is to stand out. So as you put it, in that character exploration, figuring out who you are as a brand, really seek to dig in and find out what makes your version of that special. Why it is your interpretation of that character, what's different about it. That's the thing that I think it's important. And I like your analogy, and obviously with your background, it trends nicely, but I like the idea of that because I think it gives people a better understanding as to why it matters, because blending in is not going to get you the role.
No. And the thing is we all start. I specifically help businesses who are at the beginning, who are just getting ready to step into that marketing level of their business. They've had their first several clients. And when you're getting those first clients, like you said, you're looking at other people and being like, what is everybody else doing? There's a lot of outward focus. And in order to move from, I've got a couple of clients or I have base sales for my month, to I'm now hiring and expanding and I've got a wait list for my coach clients there, you have to turn from what are other people doing to what am I doing? And that only comes through your experience. You have to work with people or sell your gadget for a little while before you realize, oh, this is why I'm different than other people.
Yeah, and own it. A lot of times I think we shy away from our differentiator because we don't know if it's right, wrong, or otherwise. And it's just if it's a natural differentiator, just own it. Just let it be its different thing, because just because somebody hasn't said it doesn't mean they're not looking for that, or they won't relate to it, or they won't pick you out amongst the crowd as being that person. That's for them.
Yeah. I was coaching with a client, and she's a book coach. So she teaches people how to write, and she specifically helps people in fantasy who write that kind of books with swords and dragons and all fun things. And when we were talking about her, she also really helps people in the queer, BIPOC, that group. And
Yep.
so we were just off the cuff. She was like, I want to encourage people to like write a banned book. And we took that language. I was like, that's what you need to say in your social media. And that is what is going to call in the people who are working for you because they understand what you mean by that. They're not like, write a book that's going to offend people. It's write a book that is so true to your own experience that you can share it. And so sometimes it's even in a conversation, you need to have someone on the other end to be like, you just said the thing that you need to write on your marketing, that you're not even aware that this is your stance on the issue.
Yeah. So what was that aha moment for you when you started your business and how you got going? What was that moment for you?
Mine is that I love helping people who don't like social media but know they need it for their business. I, for years, tried to fit in. One, I thought that all of the other social media managers in the world had some kind of like booklet that they were getting from Meta. Like, these are all of the answers that we're getting. And there is no booklet. Like, it took me, I think I was 3 or 4 years in when I was like, oh, nobody knows. Everybody's doing exactly what I'm doing, which is just looking at the analysis every single month of my clients and what's working and what isn't and paying attention to trends that are happening. Nobody knows the answer. And also, I speak particularly to people who have been harmed. Because I was an actor, we now call it doxing, but it was like way before you called it doxing. I had one of those moments. Mm-hmm. So I understand how scary these platforms can be and how you can truly get harm from them. So when people are saying like, I don't like these platforms or I feel scared about putting my message out there, I totally get it. And I'm able to help people protect themselves, set up processes and plans in place, and also address the inner work that needs to happen in order to feel confident to be on the platforms.
Yeah, I think not only can these platforms be scary, but like you said, like there's a vast amount of ignorance is probably not the right word, but people just don't know. And the problem is it evolves so fast that even if you committed to, like, I'm going to sit down this weekend and figure this out, well, by Monday, it's too late. It already changed. It already evolved past you. And it's like, it's almost like this train you'll never catch. Now, doesn't mean you can't do it. Doesn't mean you can't jump on somewhere and try to find your way. And of course, there's strategies and methods that probably work more than others, and there's ways to find success, right? Mm-hmm. But as far as this black and white idea of give me the ABCs on how to rock it on social media, it's like, well, that doesn't really exist. So it's a figure it out kind of thing.
It really is. Everything is testing and tracking. Like, you have to be curious and you have to want to test and track. And if you don't have the time for that, which most people don't because you're running a business, you don't have that additional 10 to 20 hours a week just to focus on your marketing or learn about whatever social media platform you're on, please hire someone to help you, but also understand that most of the advice that you hear when you're I love following people online because they'll be like, oh, we found that this was a couple years ago now, but it was when Reels just released. And I remember seeing a Reel come through that's like, I found that if I release 3 Reels a day, my account will grow exponentially over time. And I'm like, ain't no business owner worth their salt because they're doing their business has time to do 3 Reels a day. Like, that's nonsense banana sandwich advice for you. But you could do a Reel a week or 2 Reels a week. It's not an all or nothing situation. So,
well, in making sure that you understand that like these waves come and go.
Totally.
Like, you might be able to jump on this wave and percentages show that if I do X, Y, and Z, I'll grow at this rate. Yeah, only until the algorithm changes or only until Instagram or Facebook or whoever makes that adjustment. But understanding the fluidity of it, I think, is huge because it helps you manage the expectations and the failures and the wins and without deflating yourself is basically what I'm getting at. Because I run into that a lot with my clients, that there's this massive deflation that happens when something doesn't work. Like, oh, that was a bomb. It's like, well, not necessarily. We have to look at it within context and see where maybe you got more views than you did follows or whatever. There could be a success in there somewhere, but you got to look at it. You got to dig in.
And you have to understand why you're on the platform. Like, most people who are coming to you or coming to me aren't coming on there because they want to be an influencer. You know,
Right.
they want to sell their service or they want to sell their product. And so you have to redefine the success metrics to match what is actually happening there. My Instagram boyfriend, Adam Mazzari, he came out recently and said, like, hey guys, I just want everybody to remember followers are not where it's at. Like, that is not the metric you should be tracking here for quote unquote success. Social media is all about engagement right now. On Facebook and on Instagram, they are looking for the accounts that have high engagement, not high followers, to push the content.
Yep.
So if you have 100 followers, but you get 10 to 15 likes and 5 comments on each post, you have great engagement. You are actually doing the job you set out to do.
Well, and I mention this because I think it's a lot closer to you and your other industry of acting and entertainment. Mm-hmm. But I see that even with my clients where they'll use other industries as benchmarks. Like have you seen this guy? I follow him and he's got whatever, 10,000 downloads. Yeah. And it's like, okay, but that's apples and bowling balls. We're not even talking about the same stuff.
Yeah.
And not so much anymore, but when influencers were first a thing, I remember getting that a lot with my clients without anybody doing the math on the fact that influencer XYZ is shirtless or in a swimsuit in every photo, or it's like, well, are you paying attention to why they're getting the links or the follows or the whatever? Because it matters. And all these different elements and different things that people are putting in here as gaslighting mechanisms to get followers, it drives the numbers. And even, it doesn't even have to be skin related.
Yeah.
It could be somebody who just, like, I post with a lot of exotic cars or classic cars or motorcycles or whatever it is. You're finding these audiences who really love motorcycles or really love whatever. And it skews the numbers, which great if that's what you're after or that's what you're trying to do. But as a business, as a solopreneur or whatever it is, when you're trying to build out your own social audience, you really have to look at those different things and decide what things matter. Like, what do I really want to accomplish here?
Because I'm an actor, I know this. When influencers started, right, and everybody probably remembers, like, they tried to start putting them in movies and in television shows, and actors freaked out. People were like, oh my God, I'm going to have to be an influencer now, and I'm going to have to, like, have all these followers on social media. And guess what? When they put those people in films and shows and everything, the audience does not transfer. Right. They do not go and watch a movie because an influencer with 100,000, 500,000, whatever followers was in it. One, they're not great actors. They're really good at creating short-term content, but they're not actors. But two, to your point of, like, what is it that we're building? Those people just want to see the hot car of the week. They don't want to see them in a movie. They're not going to go and spend their dollars there. So pay attention to what you're creating and cultivating on your platforms.
And I've always explained that to the clients. Like, these are very low barrier transactions. Like, because me personally, imagine sitting on the couch at midnight, half asleep, scrolling through my phone, like that, like this. I'm not putting a lot of investment into it. I'm just plowing through, whether it's Reels or Instagram or TikToks or whatever it is. And again, it's not that I can't stand behind the things I like or don't like, but at the same time, I'm not really investing anything other than to get on to the next thing. So when, to your point, most people aren't even going to remember that they liked, followed, or whatever. So to go commit 2 hours or an hour and a half to sit and watch that person in a movie, it's not going to happen. It happens to me all the time where I'll get served content, whether it's TikTok or whatever, and I'll think to myself, why are they showing me this? And then I'll go look, and it's like, oh, because I follow them, or like somewhere along the line, I made the conscious choice to do it.
I just unfollowed someone this morning where I was like, why do I keep seeing this person in my feed? Oh, I followed them at some point.
Right. And not that's right, wrong, or otherwise, but it's a very low barrier. I don't know that I'd put a lot of street
I call
cred
it passive engagement.
There you go.
And when we're talking to businesses, we're actually not interested in the passive engagement. We want people to take the action of clicking the link in your bio to go book a discovery session or go buy a ticket to your show or go whatever it is. And that number is a much smaller fraction of what you're seeing. But if you cultivate your audience on a consistent basis, you can get people off platform to come and talk to you.
100%. And I think that's where, like you were talking earlier, doing that character exploration, defining your brand, and really putting a message out there where you're cultivating brand loyalists more than you are passive followers. Mm-hmm. That's the key. And it might come at a slower rate, but that doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah, I like to say you're not going to be in business for 30 days, so don't think about your social media in 30-day increments, right? Yeah. If you started today, you would start seeing success, sales, whatever, 3 to 6 months from now. Next year, you would be able to start having a repetitive monthly success if you have an action plan that you're moving forward with. Like, it's not an overnight thing. But what you were saying before is that it's that cultivating of the audience that is the true magic of social media right now. When you pair it with your email marketing or when you pair it with targeted ads, that's where you're going to see the higher conversion rates because people are in your group. They're like, I'm totally here for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So where do you see this whole thing going in 2024? Obviously, we had AI hit the scene in 2023, and obviously a lot of changes in social media in 2023. Early 2024, what do you think that looks like for the remainder of the year?
My early prediction for the year, and I stand by it, is that we are going to see an influx of content across the board because people are using AI tools to create more of it. And so the accounts that stand out are going to be the ones where you are actually showing up. And it doesn't have to be you on video, although that's great, but you actually writing content from your heart that is not some general thing that I can find by Googling. That is the content that people are connecting with and engaging with and moving forward with. And because you're going to be different. There is a soul to what you're doing and to the work you're putting forth versus ChatGPT. Now, I am not anti-AI tools. I just think they need to be used in conjunction with real humans.
I completely agree, and I think they're a tool to be leveraged. Mm-hmm. I think the AI tools, ChatGPT, Midjourney, I think they're all awesome and they're fun and they're tools to be leveraged, but I think the byproduct of it and the part that we're going to be, if we're not experiencing it already, it's going to be a major influx in the white noise as well. Mm-hmm. Because just like you said, everybody and their uncle's using this now to produce more content, get more stuff out there. So the population of content is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. And because a lot of people start with that monkey see, monkey do approach, there's just more white noise to cut through. It's just that much more difficult to plow your way through that white noise. And you already gave the answer. Authenticity is what's going to do that for you. Yeah. Or the extreme. You have these streamers and people that are doing super unique things, and like that will also stand out amongst it. But totally, if you be true to yourself and true to who your brand is from an authenticity standpoint, you're light years ahead.
Yeah. And just remember, like, you don't need everyone on the planet to buy your service or buy your product, right? Like, as a small business myself, I could not serve more than 8 or 9 more people this year, right? I'm not looking to bring in 100,000 people. I wouldn't know what to do with them. Yeah. So give yourself a break. Like, you don't need the 100,000 followers because really you couldn't even handle that business level. Like, start with where you are and keep consistent at it because you will see a difference.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, like, I also just know where your break even's at because it'll help you manage your expectations. You know, if you put a campaign together or something on social media, for you to have made it worth it, what do you need from that? 1 client, 2 clients? Because if you get that 1, call it a win, move on. Mm-hmm. But if you end up with 4, then wow, that was even better. But if you can learn to set those expectations realistically, it's huge.
Yeah. The online business world in general right now is really reeling because we had this lovely captive audience for 2 years due to the pandemic, and people were just buying and doing all this stuff, and now we're back to quote unquote real life where we're competing with the world outside.
Right.
And people are like, why am I not getting 100 people signing up for my class anymore? Well, it wasn't ever really that valuable.
Right.
Realign your expectations and really focus on, am I giving true value? What community can I build through this? Because people are valuing experience over just a tchotchke. Like, I was sent this little thing as like a thinking of you gift. And I value it not because it's a little potted plant, which I can get anywhere. I value it because it came in a beautiful little box, and I opened it and there was like a scent with it, and it had a little card from the friend that sent it to me. That is an experience that they created. Like, that's why the person sends that one over just picking up a pot on the corner. So think about that too. Like, how can you bring community and to whatever it is you're doing?
So Lauren, tell us a little bit more about where we can learn more, follow you, and get some more information on social media.
Yeah, so online, I practice what I preach. My hero platform, meaning the one that I spend most time on, is Instagram. Please follow me at Get Social Happy if you want to learn more about how it is I work with people and coach people and teams through social media. If you want to see any of my acting stuff, including some narration that I'm starting, hello audiobook lovers, that's my at Lauren.Litt, and you can find both of them through Get Social Happy.
Awesome. Well, Lauren, thank you again for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
If you'd like to learn more about CyberDogs, share your thoughts, or even ask a specific question about this episode and or the brand Retro Mindset, contact me directly at mike@cyberdogsmarketing.com.